Number 3, The Arrival of Raditz. Now, this one is huge. This is what kicks off Dragon Ball Z. This is what almost every single game starts at, and this is a very huge section of the story, and rightfully so. And again, you gotta put yourself in the shoes of the readers and the viewers from that time period. Imagine watching Dragon Ball or reading Dragon Ball, and up to this point, you're thinking Goku's just this fun-loving monkey boy, and out of nowhere, boom, he's a dad. And then boom, he's also an alien. This stuff hits like boom, like that. I wanted to include Goku being a dad, but I'm gonna just include it into this. It's all one big thing. Goku being really the start of Z. That's what this should be, the start of Z. Because Goku being a dad, that's one thing that shocks people. And then two, him being an alien, it's a double punch that really gets you like, whoa, what is going on here? After 5 years, Dragon Ball had changed so much in universe. Goku has a kid. Him, of all people, having a kid. The same guy who didn't know the difference between a boy or a girl has a kid. He has a son. And not only that, some random dude from space shows up telling him, you gotta kill everybody on the planet because you're a space pirate, so come with us. And no one knows what's going on. It's that double punch that really gets you going. And also another thing about Raditz is back in his day, he was legit. He was the strongest guy they had ever faced. He made Piccolo look like a worm. And so this stuff is really, really freaking scary, which also leads to Goku's death, which is also bundled into this, little topic. I should have made this the start of Z, but I'm bundling all this into one. So look at this. You got the 1-2 punch of Goku having a kid and Raditz showing up, proclaiming that he's Goku's brother and that Goku's an alien. And then the third huge punch, this is more like a kick to the balls, is Goku dying. The main character dies? That's insane. What other TV show, what other series have you ever seen this happen in? That is literally insane. How has that ever happened? It's amazing to me that Dragon Ball could even continue like this. I remember the first time I saw this growing up and I thought, man, like, did this really just happen? And the same thing would go on to happen in different series like Yu Yu Hakusho, where Yusuke dies in the first episode. But it's hard to really feel that Togashi wasn't inspired by Goku dying in the early stages of Dragon Ball Z. Well, at least that section of the story in the manga. And it's amazing how the show carried on like this. But there's a reason that Toriyama was able to write Goku's death so easily. It was familiar to him. And why? Because number 2, Krillin's death. This is the death that really shocked people in Japan. Again, you gotta put yourself into their shoes. They're watching this chronologically. Up to this point, the only guy they've ever seen die and be brought back to life was Bora. But he was a side character. No one really cares about side characters. That'd be like in Dragon Ball Z, for people more familiar with Z, that's like number 16 dying and then getting brought back to life or something, even though he was an android. Like Android 16 dying and getting brought back to life. Like he's a side character. No one cares. It's really when a main character dies is when people cares. And that's why Krillin's death is so vital to the importance of Dragon Ball. Not only that, but the shock value it added. Like I mentioned for Goku's death earlier, this will blow your mind. You don't expect main characters to just die off like that. You don't expect that. But in this series, it makes so much more sense because they can come back with Dragon Balls. Not only that, but you're thinking, okay, well, they do have the Dragon Balls. They can bring him back to life. Until Piccolo does this to Shenlong. He blows him up. So where are the Dragon Balls? The rest of this arc, you're thinking after this, Kame Sennin dies. Chaozu dies. So many people die in this arc. All the martial artists die in this arc. You're thinking, what's going to be of the world? You have no Dragon Balls and everyone else is dying. And so you're thinking, what's going on with the world? And that's why this death is so impactful and so shocking. And even in the anime, there's a cool segment where Goku kind of tells Krillin, he's like, wait, Krillin, he looks at him for a second. He's just like, he just stares at him. And then, when they're sitting and eating at the dinner table, that's when Goku realizes something's up. and he goes and chases his friend and finds out that Krillin's dead. And that's what really, really makes this scene hit. And this is a very underrated scene of Dragon Ball. Very, very underrated scene. It doesn't get enough love. It really doesn't get any love like that. And it deserves the admiration that it's getting in this video. Number 1. Trunks' first appearance. Goku being an alien is huge. Don't get me wrong. And Krillin's death is also huge, okay? But tell me, when you first seen Trunks transform in front of Frieza with the Capsule Corp jacket, tell me you weren't looking at your screen just going, what the f is going on? I remember the first time I saw this thinking, I had no clue. You have no clue. Dragon Ball's way better going into it not knowing a thing. It's way better. Trunks is a character that gets so much love because of this scene, because of his first appearance. He shows up, transforms into this legendary transformation that you've only ever seen Goku do, and he's wearing Capsule Corp, and then he slices up Frieza like he's nothing. In your head, you're thinking Frieza was the toughest SOB that Dragon Ball's ever seen up to this point, and he gets done in like that from this random boy, and no one knows who he is? No one, not a soul. And then when Goku shows up on Earth just later on, just 3 hours later or so, he goes like, I don't know who this kid is. And so you're like, who is this kid? And the funny part about this all is, when he actually reveals to Goku who he is, it's even more shocking. The fact that he's the product of Vegeta and Bulma makes it 10 times more shocking than it should have been. The fact that he's from future. So now Dragon Ball's doing time travel now. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. These last 3 selections, these last 3 picks were tough. Like 3 through 1 were tough to put in order in, you know, what I wanted to order them in. But this moment, it just comes so out of the blue. It's just so out of nowhere. It has to be number 1. The fact that Vegeta and Bulma were his parents, I mean, that doesn't even make sense. Goku having a kid, I mean, when you got one dance partner that really loves you like Chi-Chi, that can somewhat make sense. And I mean, he did have a tail, so you can kind of see him being an alien. Even him dying, I mean, like I said, Krillin had already died, so that, you know, that kind of makes sense. You know, you can kind of ration with that, but Bulma and Vegeta having kids. Y'all, that's like if OJ had kids with Kim Kardashian. It just doesn't compute. It makes no sense. It just doesn't make any sense. And that's the point that I'm trying to convey. This is by far the most shocking moment in Dragon Ball. Let me know what y'all think in the comments. Do you agree with this list? Do you disagree? Let me know about some other shocking moments in Dragon Ball. And check out my other videos. I got way more coming up. I'll see y'all in the next one.